49ers-Cowboys week rolls on, and the preview material just gets more fun and more fun to write. Today, I was able to take a look at the quarterback battle that we have in this game. It's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo on one side, Dak Prescott on the other side. Two quarterbacks who actually might share something in common as far as their stories go. Obviously, they both missed the 2020 matchup between these two teams because of season-ending injuries. It was Nick Mullins against Andy Dalton last year at Cowboys Stadium. Yeah, not too compelling. I called that a forgettable game because I think most people have probably already forgotten it, at least until I remind you. It's no coincidence that Garoppolo and Prescott are back and their respective teams are in the postseason and playing in the postseason this year, because the quarterback position is the most important on the field. No matter, what happens elsewhere, if you don't get good quarterback play, you're probably not going to go very far. That much has been true for both the 49ers and the Cowboys. And hey, that much has been true throughout the course of this entire rivalry, from Joe Montana to Steve Young to Troy Aikman, Roger Staubach, Craig Morton. There has been epic history in this 49ers-Cowboys rivalry at the quarterback position, possibly even more pronounced and more focused on this position than it has been in other football games. Because let's be real, the quarterback position is the most important in any football game, right? But I think in 49ers Cowboys, if you go through the years, the magnifying glass has been a little bit bigger. You can go back to 1971, 1972, when the 49ers played the Cowboys in the NFC Championship one year, and then at Candlestick Park on the AstroTurf in the divisional playoffs the next year. And the Cowboys at the time, Tom Landry was their coach. Remember the top hat? They were hosting the first great quarterback controversy of all time between Craig Morton and Roger Staubach. I mean, there was a point where Tom Landry was literally rotating quarterbacks play by play. So he'd take Morton out, he'd put Staubach in, take Staubach out, put Morton in, play after play. I mean, it was like a little bit of what the 49ers were doing with Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance in the preseason against the Raiders, except Tom Landry was crazy and he was actually doing it every single play of the regular season. That quarterback controversy was not settled until the Dallas Cowboys started Craig Morton against the 49ers in that 1972 divisional playoff game and fell behind, benched Morton, put Staubach in, and Staubach scored 2 touchdowns or led the Cowboys to 2 touchdowns over the final 90 seconds to give Dallas a 30-28 win that ripped the hearts out of some of the older 49ers fans right now watching this show. I'm sure that if you talk to a 49ers fan from 1972, they will tell you that that loss to Dallas was extremely painful. And what happened to Dallas is that Tom Landry turned around and essentially committed to Roger Staubach from that point moving forward. Now, at the time of that game, there was a young kid on the East Coast who had Roger Staubach as his favorite player. That kid's name was Steve Young. So you fast forward a decade or two, Steve Young's all grown up and he's now on the 49ers. But who's his teammate? Joe Montana. How did Joe Montana's legend get started? Against the Cowboys. 40 years ago this week, Joe Montana threw the pass that would later be known as the catch in the NFC Championship game, January 1982. Rest in peace to Dwight Clark, but that was already 40 years ago this week that he made that catch. Obviously, that was preceded by a drive to beat Dallas in the NFC title game. Joe Montana would go on to win 4 Super Bowls with the 49ers. But Steve Young, who grew up idolizing Roger Staubach as a kid, joined the 49ers in 1987. And that erupted another quarterback controversy, this one on the side of the 49ers, not with Dallas 2 decades prior with Staubach and Morton. Dallas wasn't a good team yet when the 49ers quarterback controversy was really raging in the late 80s. That's when Jimmy Johnson took over as head coach. That was a 1-15 team that he turned into a perennial Super Bowl winner, right? But once Dallas did get good and once they did challenge the 49ers, it just so happened that Joe Montana's final game in a 49ers uniform was an NFC Championship loss to Dallas, which Steve Young started and played in. So Montana didn't even see action. But it was 11 years after his NFC Championship win over the Cowboys in the catch with Dwight Clark. Joe Montana rode the bench as Steve Young and the 49ers lost to the Cowboys in January of 1993. So again, another example of this rivalry between the 49ers and the Cowboys serving an epic poetic backdrop. You look at what happened after that game, and I have it in this article today. Steve Young told this story before. After the 49ers lost to the Cowboys that year, there was a lone fan lingering at the top of Candlestick's upper deck, and he kept on yelling, "Put Joe in! There's still time. There's still time. Put Joe in." And obviously that was one of the low points of Steve Young's career. That's how crazy it was with that quarterback controversy. You guys think that Garoppolo and Lance has been wild? No. It was Young on Montana that was wild. And Montana, literally, the guy with 4 Super Bowl rings, was unused, and he hadn't played in almost 2 years, or hadn't played meaningful action in 2 years. He was left unused as the 49ers lost 30-20 to the Dallas Cowboys at Candlestick in the NFC Championship game. That's when Jimmy Johnson yelled in the locker room, "How about them Cowboys?" All that. That was all in that game. And that fan was sitting there after Steve Young's lowest moment to date in his career. That fan was sitting there. His voice was reverberating around the empty Candlestick Park seats, and he was saying, "Put Joe in. There's still time to make the comeback." He obviously wasn't serious, or maybe he was just really drunk and he was serious. But this just gives you a backdrop of how intense this rivalry has been, specifically for the quarterback position. And don't forget Elvis Gerbach. In 1995, the 49ers were set to be executed by Dallas. Those are Jesse Sapolo's words. He didn't think so, but basically he accused the media later on of thinking that the 49ers were going to go to Dallas and get executed because they had so many guys out, including Steve Young. But they jumped out to a huge lead thanks to a big Elvis Gerbach to Jerry Rice touchdown pass, and they beat the Cowboys, eventual Super Bowl champions in 1995, 38-20. Fast forward 5 more years to 2000, Jeff Garcia threw 4 touchdown passes at Texas Stadium. That set up Terrell Owens running out to the midfield star, looking up to the sky. That was an infamous play in NFL history. 14 years after that, Colin Kaepernick outdueled Tony Romo in the 2014 season opener. And now, obviously, we're getting a lot closer to the present day. There was a takeover of 49ers fans at Texas Stadium in 2014. Not as big of a crowd as the 49ers had in SoFi Stadium this past weekend. By the way, Matthew Stafford's wife came onto a podcast and complained that Matthew Stafford had to run a silent count at home while Jimmy Garoppolo, she mentioned Jimmy by name, didn't have to run a silent count on the road. How funny is that? So that's the extent to which 49ers fans took over at SoFi this past weekend. And it'll be really interesting to me to see if they, have as many fans as they did at AT&T Stadium. It's the new one now, the 100,000 capacity stadium. It'll be interesting to me to see if the 49ers have as much red in the stands as they did back in week 1 of 2014 with Kaepernick playing Tony Romo, or if they have, something approaching the LA level, which I think is very, very unlikely. Although on Dallas Sports Talk Radio this year, they're saying, don't sell your tickets to 49ers fans because they're afraid of what happened in LA. But I think geography had something to do with that. I do expect a lot of 49ers fans. There's also a roof on top of the stadium in Dallas, so I expect it to be loud. This might be more like the Super Bowl, where both teams have to use a silent count. So it's going to be fascinating to me. One more note about the crowd. Was that the loudest 49ers crowd in history at SoFi Stadium? And the reason I say that is because never before have the 49ers fans dominated a stadium under a roof. And the roof, the reason Seattle's so loud, it's not because, their fans are better than other teams' fans. It's because they literally accidentally built a parabolic sound reflector in their stadium. The overhangs over the crowd in Seattle to block the rain up there, because they get so much of it, are actually shaped like a parabola, for those of you who remember high school geometry. And a parabola is able to better concentrate the sound and allow it to echo down. So you see those guys on the sideline in these games with TV who have the big circular parabola, those are the parabolic mics. That's because those things pick up the sound coming off the field so that the TV mic is more effective. So Seattle Stadium, whatever it's called now, they've changed names like 5 times now, but whatever Seattle Stadium is called, it has accidentally they built the overhang in parabolic fashion, so it makes it really loud. SoFi is really loud because the sound reverberates off of the ceiling, right? So my theory is that the 49ers fans and the fandom of the 49ers has never had a louder game than this past Sunday at SoFi, because I've never seen that many 49ers fans under a roof. Even the Super Bowl in Detroit, in January or February 1982, whenever that was at the old Silver Dome, and there definitely weren't 60,000 49ers fans there. And there were 50 to 60,000 49ers fans at SoFi. We'll see how many there are in Dallas when we move forward. Yeah, Lumen Field, thank you. Somebody put it in. They went from Quest to CenturyLink to Lumen up in Seattle. Anyway, on to this quarterback matchup, because I got a picture of him just over to my left here. Jimmy Garoppolo. Is this going to be his final game as 49ers quarterback? I don't know. Maybe the 49ers don't even know for sure yet. I think they're going to be able to recoup first-round draft value for Jimmy Garoppolo next year, just because if they do choose to trade him, just because quarterbacks are in extremely high demand. That's just the nature of the NFL. And Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback, as we saw over the course of this entire season, and especially against the Rams down the stretch on Sunday. If Carson Wentz fetched a conditional first-round pick, Jimmy Garoppolo probably will too. Just watch. Just wait and see what happens before you start yelling and screaming too much about that. But that's irrelevant right now. That is neither here nor now. Right now, Jimmy Garoppolo is the 49ers starting quarterback, and he has a chance to lead them on a playoff run. It was an elimination game against the Rams. It's going to be an elimination game against Dallas. If the 49ers manage to win this one, there'll be another elimination game, likely at Green Bay. And you could see where I'm going with this. The pressure has ratcheted up. This is about to get really fun if you're not having fun already. And Jimmy Garoppolo has a chance to really, imprint a truly positive legacy with the 49ers. And it's already positive as it is now, right? This franchise changed at the snap of a finger when Jimmy Garoppolo arrived in trade in 2017. The 49ers were 1-10 or 1-9, or I don't even know what they were at the time that they traded for him. They traded for him winless. They were 0-8 when they traded for him. They're 1-10 when Jimmy Garoppolo started for the first time, and they finished 6-10. The 49ers became the first team in NFL history to start 1-10 and finish 6-10. And it was Garoppolo who was the starting quarterback that went to 5-0 to bridge that gap. So that was special. 2018 was lost due to injury. And then Garoppolo showed up in 2019, healed from the ACL, and he led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. And Trent Williams said today, I don't care how good the defense or the run game was in 2019. Quarterback is still the most important position, and Jimmy Garoppolo still led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. If he didn't do what he was supposed to do in 2019, the 49ers wouldn't have gotten to where they did get in 2019. Then Garoppolo again was hurt throughout much of 2020, came back in 2021, has played the vast majority of this season, and the 49ers are back in the playoffs. Every single time that the 49ers have gotten a sizable stretch of Jimmy Garoppolo playing for them, not too hurt to play, every single time, and it's been 3 times now, good things have happened. 2017, 5-0, 2019, Super Bowl appearance, 2021, they've made the playoffs. The guy's a winner. It's indisputable that he's left the franchise in better position than when he came, and now we're all just waiting with bated breath to see how this story ends. Garoppolo willed the 49ers to victory with a torn ligament in his thumb to extend their season. Now we get to see what he does against the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Speaking of Prescott, there's a lot on the line for Dak as well. You may not think this way as a 49ers fan, but remember, Dallas fans are crazy too. They have high expectations for their quarterbacks. And I mean, this is the first time in NFL history that 2 5 Super Bowl teams, 5 ring teams have met in the playoffs, right? So you could imagine that the expectations in Dallas are really high. And Dak Prescott signed a $160 million deal just this past March. Well, that means that the pressure to win in the playoffs is there. And so far, Dak Prescott's only 1-2 in playoff games. He might have played well in those games. I think he did. I remember watching Dak Prescott in the playoffs. But still, the truth of the matter is that Dak Prescott is 1-2. And that means that that's going to have to get better because fans want to see at least a Super Bowl appearance. I mean, Dallas hasn't been in an NFC championship game since 1995. That's a really long drought, and that means the pressure's on for Dak Prescott in more ways than one. Look at this stat. Dak Prescott over his career is 25-7 against NFC East opponents, and he's 28-26 against everyone else. So is Dak Prescott just beating up on the NFC East, or is he a quarterback who's truly capable of leading the Cowboys back to glory? Tune in on Sunday to find out. So, I mean, that's what's on the line in this game. Once the playoffs roll around, especially when it's 49ers-Cowboys, legacies are put to the test. Legacies can be formed. They can be broken. Whichever way you go with this, Jimmy Garoppolo and Dak Prescott have a big game in front of them on Sunday. In this article, I did take a look at Jimmy Garoppolo's full season and at Dak Prescott's full season, so you could take a look right here. But Garoppolo, according to Mike McDaniel, we're seeing the best football Jimmy has played. But look at this table right here. Since week 8, Jimmy Garoppolo's EPA per play, his adjusted net yards per attempt, and his QBR and his completion percentage over expectation all have been plus. Even the air yards, which is a stylistic stat, Garoppolo is in the blue here, above the league median. So this is statistically supported. We're seeing the best football Jimmy has played. The stats say, yeah, over a longer stretch from weeks 8 to 18, over the back half of the season, that's true. The EPA per play for Garoppolo was only higher in 2017, but that was only over 5 games. QBR was higher then. But, adjusted net yards per attempt, which includes sacks and interceptions, Jimmy is better now. So I don't think the 49ers are blowing smoke when they say that Garoppolo's been so good. Now, meanwhile, look at Prescott this season. This is since Dak Prescott strained his calf. And that happened around week 7 or week 8. But ever since he returned from that injury in week 9, Dak Prescott is in the red across the board. 17th in EPA per play. Adjusted net yards per attempt, only 6.2. That's low. QBR under the average of 50. Completion percentage over expectation is lower than the baseline. Point blank, Dak Prescott from weeks 9 to 17 was not good. I mean, it was a slump. Now, in fairness, Dak may have snapped out of that slump in week 18 against the Eagles. He threw for 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was really good against Philadelphia. That was last Saturday. But that was against an Eagles team that was resting guys ahead of the playoffs. And again, that was also against an Eagles team that's in the NFC East. And Dak is 25-7 when he starts against the NFC East, 28-26 against everyone else. So to me, this regression this year, it makes me ask, is Dak Prescott fully healthy? Because he was playing like an all-pro or at least a Pro Bowler through weeks 1 through 6. But in 9 through 17, as you can see in that graph, it hasn't been nearly as pretty. So which Dak Prescott are the 49ers going to face? That is what I'm wondering entering this weekend. This is the question. Is Prescott slump over? The 49ers will certainly make him find out. Now, Prescott is good on deep balls. Prescott, I mean, he's got a great arm. I think he's good under pressure. He hasn't been as good under pressure this season, especially since week 9. But he's got CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper to throw to. He's got a run game to support him, usually. If the 49ers don't stop it, the 49ers have been the number 1 run defense since their bye. But there are weapons downfield for Dallas. Prescott's got good touch on the deep ball. In fact, he's the number 8 rated deep ball thrower in the NFL this year by Pro Football Focus. Meanwhile, we know that the 49ers have struggled against the deep ball. So I guess they bucked the trend. Maybe they improved against the Rams when Matthew Stafford's 2 longest passes of the game were both interceptions, one to Emmanuel Mosley, one the walk-off winner to Ambry Thomas. But the 49ers better keep on showing it against the deep ball, because if they don't, Dak Prescott is going to have some chances downfield. Now, the 49ers pass rush is, I think, what could be their saving grace in this game. Dallas's pass blocking, I don't think, is quite as good as the Rams. And the Rams are rated number 1 in pass block win rate, number 1 in PFF grade. Although I heard that Andrew Whitworth is a part owner of PFF, so maybe we should take that with a grain of salt. But if you look at that game against the Rams, the 49ers got after Stafford. They hit him 13 times. They sacked him 5 times. By the end of the game, Matthew Stafford was inaccurate because he's gotten hit so many times. And I don't think he's as tough as Jimmy Garoppolo, who also got hit a lot, but was getting more accurate as the game progressed. So what will the case be with Dak Prescott in this game? Can the 49ers get to him with a surging pass rush as effectively as they got to the Rams and Matthew Stafford last week? That's the big question, because if they don't, I think Prescott's really good on those deep balls. I think CeeDee Lamb is better than the 49ers cornerback options. I think that Amari Cooper is better than the 49ers corners. K'Waun Williams should be back in this game. That helps the 49ers as well. Their safeties are good, but still, without a pass rush, I don't think this is going to work against Dallas. That being said, the good news is the 49ers pass rush is playing like it did late in 2019, right? They're playing, I mean, they're kicking this into gear. This is huge from the 49ers pass rush. And also that 49ers run defense is better than it was in 2019. And that's really important for a game against Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, and obviously you have Dak Prescott running a bit more later. So we'll see if Prescott's slump is over, because the 49ers will certainly test him. And on the other side, this is the key. Jimmy Garoppolo against a Dallas defense that leads the league in interceptions. Trayvon Diggs has 11 picks. That's tops in the NFL. The Cowboys as a team have 26 picks. That's a lot. That's also number one in the NFL. Jimmy Garoppolo's biggest weakness is the interceptions, 2.7% interception rate, threw 2 more against the Rams. Although against the Rams, he was getting really pressured, and that was a direct factor of having 2 backup tackles. Colton McKivitz got backed into Jimmy Garoppolo. Von Miller ripped around the edge on a sack late in the game. And even on the second pick in the red zone, which I think was more on Jimmy Garoppolo than, something a little bit earlier, than that first one, right, where he forced it into the red zone. That second pick, the right side of the offensive line caved in. So this might get a little bit better for Jimmy Garoppolo with Trent Williams back. And it almost certainly looks like Williams will be back. Check out my Twitter and my YouTube for the other videos of Trent Williams at practice. But with that happening, with Williams coming back, the 49ers might be able to slide over some protection to help out Tom Compton on the right side, since he's a better run blocker than he is a pass blocker. And if that does happen, if the 49ers are able to, have the left side taken care of and focus protection on the right, they could better challenge Micah Parsons, who's been awesome as a pass rusher this year for Dallas. They can better challenge DeMarcus Lawrence, who might be working against Trent Williams on that left tackle side. And they've also got to watch out for Randy Gregory, who's had a breakout year for the Cowboys. You have to figure out a way to stop this edge rush, which has helped the Cowboys generate so many interceptions, to help Jimmy Garoppolo out. And then Jimmy needs to do his job. And that is, don't take the chances that are going to let Trayvon Diggs get picks number 12, 13, and 14, right? You have to control the football if you're Jimmy Garoppolo. Make smart decisions. That's easier if Trent Williams is back, and you have to really take care of this Dallas pass rush, because if you do that, then you could run at Dallas. You can run at number 11. DeMarcus Lawrence, I'm not sure if you can run at 90, but I think you can run at 11. You can run at 91. Randy Gregory. I've watched the tape. Dallas is not great against the run. Leighton Vander Esch, their middle linebacker, not great against the run or the pass. He's nowhere near as good as he was as a rookie a couple years ago. So the 49ers formula is to run at volume. And if you're going to run at volume, then you're going to have to pass effectively. There is no other way around it. Kyle Shanahan came out today and said something that may make a lot of people that don't like Jimmy Garoppolo mad. But he said, if we don't run well, the only reason that we ran well is because we've passed really well. And he was talking about both Lance and Garoppolo. Lance against Houston passed well in the second half. Garoppolo against the Rams passed well in the second half. It all goes hand in hand. It all goes together. So that's how the 49ers have to approach this game. Jimmy's going to have to be really good, but the offensive line's going to have to be good in front of him. And we'll see if he's better than Dak Prescott, because over the course of 49ers Cowboys, it's been about the quarterbacks. There's obviously so many other good players that have played, but the magnifying glass on the quarterbacks has been bigger, and I expect that to remain true when the 49ers and the Cowboys lock horns at AT&T Stadium this week. All right, guys, if you have any questions, please shoot them my way. I'm going to go eat probably In-N-Out Burger before I fly out to Texas tomorrow. So let's see if we have any questions. And you know what? I'm going to do a Q&A session from Dallas. So I'm going to look at some of these and answer maybe 3 of them, but we're going to do a specific video for Q&A. Let's see. Regarding Thomas's pick in the Rams game, would it have been called no pick if his left hand had landed out of bounds? It depends if the body had landed inbounds first. I think his body landed inbounds first, so I think it was going to be a pick. No matter what. Questions. There's a lot of comments. Do I think that Dallas's wide receivers will pose more problems than the Rams? I mean, Cooper Kupp's one of the best in football, so that's hard to say. But the Cowboys have two really premier guys. Helped the 49ers that Robert Woods was out. He suffered the ACL. He's done for the season for the Rams. So in CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, you got two of those guys. And you can't forget about the tight end, Dalton Schultz, Stanford guy. He can actually get the job done. So the Cowboys have weapons. I think they're going to pose a lot of problems. You know what? Dak Prescott's been really good against zone coverage. And I know the 49ers play a lot of zone. He hasn't been nearly as good against man coverage. And the Falcons, I mean, I say the Falcons, Dan Quinn, Dallas defensive coordinator, he comes from that Seattle tree, right? So that's related to the 49ers defense. A lot of cover three, actually, for Dallas, less than in years past because cover three's kind of died. But Jimmy Garoppolo has been good against the cover three, against zone. This game is going to come down to how do these two quarterbacks both fare against man coverage. And Dak Prescott hasn't been great against man coverage, but the 49ers haven't been great employing man coverage. So 49ers cornerbacks better grow up quick. They better be able to man up Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. And if that doesn't happen, they better hope that pass rush dominates this game like it did last week against LA. With how poor the Cowboys' rushing defense is, how many pass attempts does Jimmy have in this game, do you think? It's not as correlated with that as you might think. This all depends on how Dallas actually plays the 49ers. Do they commit extra guys to the box? If they do, Jimmy's going to pass more. Do they back off because Jimmy's playing really well? That means the 49ers are going to run more. You run or pass depending on what the defense dictates it. Which Jimmy will play? That is the question. Absolutely. He actually had his first full practice since the thumb injury today. So that's very important. Do I think that the 49ers will keep Jimmy Garoppolo if they go deep into the playoffs? Possibly. There's a non-zero chance. There is a world in which Jimmy Garoppolo forces the 49ers' hand, and that is continuing to play the way that he did down the stretch against the Rams and doing it for 3 more games, leading the 49ers to the Super Bowl. And then you're looking at your 2 quarterback options, and you'd be completely stupid to let an efficient playoff quarterback who's led you, all the way to the Super Bowl or to a Super Bowl win. You wouldn't be smart to not hold on to him at that point, especially if the trade return is not massive. But it's unlikely at this point because Trey Lance is getting more and more ready by the week on the scout team. And if Trey Lance is ready and the 49ers don't do anything crazy under Garoppolo this postseason, you obviously go to Trey Lance. But there is a chance. There's always a chance. And option power is great because you don't have to decide until after the season. So the 49ers aren't going to cross the decision bridge until they actually get to it. All right. I want to see more questions. If not, I'm going to get going. You guys are just talking and arguing here. I'm going to go down all the way to the bottom, see if we have any new questions. Scroll. Here's a prediction from Juan, 33-39ers. Zuerlein misses a crucial field goal. Yes, he has missed 13 kicks this year. Matt Jackson, who's my high school friend, our high school quarterback, he's a big Cowboys fan. We were just texting today. He said, do not neglect the fact that Zuerlein is a weakness, has been a weakness for the Cowboys this year. Think Robbie Gould is bad? How many kicks does he miss? Like 4 at most? 13 kicks. That's crazy. How good? This is a good question. This is one that we'll finish up with. How good in coverage, pass coverage, is Micah Parsons? Garoppolo's problems with linebackers that fill in those middle holes in the pass game. Listen, Micah Parsons can do absolutely everything, right? I mean, he drops back in coverage. He pass rushes. He could rush over the middle, over the A gap. He could bring it around the edges. So he's a Swiss Army knife the Cowboys can use everywhere. Yes, he's decent in pass coverage, but where the 49ers can really exploit Parsons is the run game. That's the worst part of his game. That's why he got so touchy this week about bully ball and saying that in Pennsylvania, wherever he grew up, the bullies get bullied, blah, 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 all this, all that. The bottom line is that Parsons is not a great run defender, especially relative to how good of a pass rusher he is or how versatile he is doing other stuff as a strong side linebacker position. So the key for the 49ers is to play this game on their terms. You want to be able to run at 11. You want to be able to run at 91, Randy Gregory. I don't think you run at 90, but maybe the 49ers, blocking is good enough. So we'll see if that's possible. But if you play this on your terms, you get Micah Parsons in a compromised position. And that's all that I could really preview about that. This is a good question. What's up, man? One of my buddies asking this question. Do you think the 49ers will try to play in space like normal given Dallas's struggles with tackling. Yeah, Dallas, this is a great point, and this is a good one to finish on. I promise this is it right here. I said I was going to finish before with the one prior to this, but now we could finish with this one. Dallas, their corners aren't good tacklers. Trevon Diggs is not a good tackler. So the 49ers obviously will be trying to play in space. That is the essence of Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers scheme. And it is to zag while other teams are zigging. The league gets smaller, especially at defensive back, linebacker. The 49ers try to get at least more physical, if not bigger. That's where Deebo Samuel and the idea of Deebo Samuel comes from. You got a thick wide receiver who can, cut and explode like Walter Payton, right? I mean, he's extremely fast and agile for how big he is. But the point is that you're trying to exploit these defensive backs who aren't great tacklers. And a lot of these guys don't even want to tackle. John Embry, 49ers tight ends coach, used to fine George Kittle when Kittle was a rookie for running out of bounds. $10 each time Kittle ran out of bounds at practice or during a game. And he said, these guys don't want to tackle you, so don't run out of bounds. Don't let the sideline be an extra defender, which, by the way, is why the 49ers love to work the middle of the field. So the sideline is out of the picture. It makes the other team tackle them. DBs around the NFL, linebackers around the NFL, safeties around the NFL. Tackling has become a lost art of sorts. They're not as good as they used to be. Maybe because they don't practice it all the time, because these camps and practices, all these regulations for safety make it a lot harder to practice. So I think the 49ers will absolutely try to play in space like normal, because that's something they do against every team. That's the 49ers comparative advantage. And against Dallas, it might be even more pronounced than usual. So good stuff, guys. Thank you again. More stuff is coming. The 49ers-Cowboys preview. Will the 49ers beat Dallas? That's also going to come soon. I have to go eat. Check out the article, posting it to the comments section. Make sure you subscribe. 30-minute show was a lot of fun. Crowd is growing by the minute. So hopefully you guys all hop on board. Everybody take care during this huge 49ers-Cowboys week. Bye now.